Good morning, everybody. Welcome to our Wednesday morning press conference after our Tuesday evening Mayor and City Council meeting. Um, we have the media here to ask questions, and people can ask questions online that we'll do our best to answer. Before we go into that discussions of last night's meeting, I want to make a few announcements. Again, we want to thank everybody who participated in the 70th anniversary of the Columbus Lowndes Airport. It was a beautiful day. And was great work from our COO, Jamie Garrett, Dan Dustin, who runs the airport for us, and also want to thank the Board of Supervisors for their financial support and help in planning this great event. If you missed the event, you can watch it on our Facebook Live and encourage you to do so. This week we have several things going on. The National Day of Prayer will be Thursday in front of the Lowndes County Courthouse. We appreciate everybody who works so hard to plan that each year. Mental Health Awareness Walk will be this Thursday at the Columbus Soccer Complex starting at 6 p.m. We can also meet the candidates for the next superintendent of the Columbus Municipal School District. That meeting will be Thursday at 6 at Cook Elementary. They have not announced the three finalists, but you will be able to meet them then and ask questions, and I encourage everyone to participate regardless of whether you have a student at the public schools, because the good work of the school system affects everything about the city, from economic development to poverty and crime. We should all be very interested in the future of our public schools, so we encourage everybody to come out and attend that meeting on Thursday at 6. The MUW's graduation ceremonies will be Friday on campus. The Market Street Festival will be this weekend, beginning Friday evening at the soccer field complex, and then downtown all day Saturday. Please be mindful of the street closings. You can go to our Facebook page and to Main Street Columbus's Facebook page and see those streets that will be closed. We thank everybody for their hard work. This is one of the biggest events of the city, and we appreciate everybody working together on that event. Also, on the 8th of May, which is Monday, the MSMS students will be presenting a 8th of May Emancipation celebration on Monday at 6 p.m. at Historic Sandfield Cemetery. This is a wonderful event that has been featured on HBO and other books and magazines. We've gotten a lot of good coverage over that over the years, and if you have not attended, I hope that you'll make time to do so. Also, the Farmers Market grand opening is a week from Saturday, May the 13th, from 7 a.m. until 10 a.m., and we encourage all to attend that as well. I wanted to give a special shout out to Emily Liner, who owns Friendly City Books. Friendly City Books was recently named as one of the top 10 bookstores in Mississippi by Southern Living. That's quite an honor. Emily moved back to Mississippi after a career in D.C. She's a graduate of MSMS, originally from the Gulf Coast, and had a vision that Columbus needed an independent bookstore, which we did, and she has worked hard as a partner throughout the community, and for her to receive that honor in such a short time is very impressive. She opened the store in 2020 during the middle of the pandemic and has worked really hard to grow that local business here in Columbus, so we're very proud of that award for her. Last night's meeting, we covered several important topics. At the top of the list, I am pleased to say that we are moving forward quickly on paving 5th Street North, which everybody lovingly refers to as the potholes on Chick-fil-A Road. If you're not aware, that portion of the road where it is so bad is owned by the folks who own, what is it called, Magnolia Place? It's the stores that are right there that have, what's all in there? Ross Dress for Less, Old Navy, PetSmart, all those buildings. That back road has been owned by them for many years. back to the time when I think that was, what was there before? It was like a office supply was there, but it was originally Kmart. So that road has been owned by them for quite some time. There's been a lot of misinformation out about who owned and who was responsible for it. But the council voted last night to take the low bid on paving what is our section, starting at the red light till about midway of that road, and then contingent upon the owners of getting the paperwork back from them where they have signed off for their portion of it. That road will be milled down and resurfaced. It won't be just filling the potholes. Once all that is complete, the city will look at an agreement to take that ownership back in hopes that it'll never get to the condition that it is in right now. Big news. I can hear people clapping in all over Columbus right now as we're announcing it again. Also, the council voted, along with me, to approve a bid for the Highway 45 landscaping, which we hope will begin immediately because of the timing. There's been much discussion for quite some time, not just recently, about the landscaping in the city. We have probably over 78 beds within the city, and there's never been a budget over $30,000 to maintain them. I've got the numbers starting back from 2016 that shows the budget and the spending, and as you can see in 2017, 2018, and 2019, the budget was overspent. In 2018, we spent close to $50,000 from a budget of 30, and I'm not quite sure what it all was used for that year. However, since I've been in office, we've been taking a close look at how do we maintain these and properly plant within the city. This bed, the beds on 45 that we started with, I've asked Neil Schaefer to work with MDOT to find the appropriate plants that will more likely survive in the area than some of the ones that we've been planting in the past. So we're continuing to work on that process. The debate with the council last night was whether it was more cost efficient to outsource this and then have it done internally, where we're driving all the way down to Loosedale to pick up plants and bring them back, and where there will be no warranty on them, and then having our staff plant them. The council voted last night with me breaking the tie to let's outsource it this time as we move forward. Where we did find stalemate again last night was with awarding the cutting of the bypass area. As you will remember, several months ago it was discovered, or I guess at the beginning of my term, which has almost been 2 years now, that we were having Public Works cut all the areas around the city like that, which is really the responsibility of MDOT, and they only cut it twice a year. And you know that because of where all the areas within the city and the county that are in our main thoroughfare, we can't let that go. We can't let it be cut twice a year. It has to be done on a regular basis. We thought we were in a contract with MDOT where we were being reimbursed, but we were not. Having our workers from Public Works cut those areas, especially during cutting season, kept them out of the wards, which caused complaints and not proper maintaining of the wards. We're desperately trying to get back to a ward system where we have them working in the wards every day and the same workers on a consistent basis. By outsourcing this, from what our numbers look like, it was more cost effective to do it and would also give them adequate time in the wards. So there's still a debate on whether that's the best route to go. We will look at it again at the next council meeting. We will probably discuss it again at the next work session to try to get that part of it ironed out. The other good news that happened was that we were able to order our much needed radars for the police department. I have the actual ones that were voted on to order last night. We've been getting quite a lot of complaints for quite some time about the speeding and stuff in the city, and upon the new chief's arrival, it was reported back to me that we had 2 radars at the police department and none in the cars. And then I think they have found some more in storage at Maxim Medical after we sold that building, and we're cleaning it out. So needless to say, it was important that we get the radars to try to crack down on some of this speeding in the city. I know that there's some areas where there's been regular reported drag racing on 45. There's a lot of people speeding in front of City Hall. We are bringing our having motorcycles back on the beat with the police department to help crack down on some of those things. Obviously, there are some things like that when they are seen by the police department, they can stop it without having the radars, but it is very much a need for us to have radars in the cars to be able to crack down on the speeding that's going on throughout the city. And I've gotten commitment from the chief that we will be cracking down on that. So speeders in Columbus, beware. Yesterday, unfortunately, we had somebody who was impatient and tried to speed around a fire truck and sideswiped it. Thankfully, no one was injured. It would have been terrible if they had hit one of our firefighters in that process, but it was not much damage to the fire truck, but it seems that there probably was quite a bit of damage to that person's car, and it's my understanding that the police is looking in to see who that was. We've also had reports of people speeding around school buses and other things in the city. We would encourage our citizens to follow proper driving procedures when they're on the road, but we will be doing everything we can to crack down on that through the police department. We did approve the grant for the fire department to move forward on the purchase of our new fire truck. That was approved, and we did approve to hire some seasonal ground maintenance technicians and laborers. One of the things that was discussed last night is that it's very difficult, or has been very difficult, to maintain the proper staffing in public works for various reasons. That is something that is not only an issue here, but is in other municipalities have a hard time keeping people employed in those areas to maintain all the areas of the city that public works is responsible for. So we will continue to address those issues. We did raise salaries in those positions in the last budget process. As we go into the budgeting process again this year, we will continue to look at what we can do from a financial standpoint to maintain public works at a level that we need it to be adequately dealing with all the issues that go along with maintaining the city. It is an important area that we will always continue to work on to do the best we can on behalf of our citizens. We did go into executive session. I will let our city attorney come up and address what was discussed in executive session.
Thank you. Good morning, Mayor. The Mayor and Council, the agenda said we took up 3 items of personnel. It was actually only 2. The first one related to job performance of an employee in the administrative department. If you'll recall, I think it was the last meeting or maybe the one before, they terminated an employee for inefficiency. And so last night, the council approved increasing the pay of a current employee upstairs because she's taken on those duties until a replacement is found, as well as other duties that she does that are well beyond her job description. So they increased it $200 per pay period until they find a replacement for the lady that was terminated. And then once they find a replacement, the pay will go down $100. So she'll be paid an extra $100 every pay period. The other issue, they voted unanimously to hire an IT director subject to drug screen and physical exam. Thank you.
All right, and with that, we'll take any questions that you might have. Oh, wait a minute, let me mention one more thing, if you don't mind, that, I wanted to make sure that people, because we've talked about this, the watershed and flooding issue that the city faces is one that's, been a top priority for me as mayor to try to, come up with, long-term solutions for these issues that we've known about since the seventies. And yesterday, we had members of the USDA Natural Resource Conservation Service, the Mississippi engineering staff for that group. This is the money that we were seeking last summer when we went to DC to be able to fund a study to look at our aging infrastructure. They were here yesterday, and I met with them, and then representatives from our city engineers, from Neil Schaefer, met with them and took them around in the city to look at some of the the areas where we had focused our $3 million that we set aside from our ARPA money. This is a process that they will be looking at to try to understand what we can do from a long-range watershed-based stormwater management plan to address several of the complex issues that we face in the city, from erosion, from sediment control, from flood prevention and water quality and stormwater management. This is a process that doesn't happen quickly, but we will be continuing to work with them. The next process, I think, will be after their visit yesterday and the report they're working on. We will then have a Zoom meeting, probably with some of the officials that are in DC. This was part of the USDA office. These were federal employees, but they're based out of Jackson. And there are several cities that they are visiting to look at the potential to tap into some of the federal dollars that are there now to help us with our long-term plan. So they were here yesterday, and we'll continue to keep y'all abreast of how we're we're moving forward with that, and hopefully gaining some much-needed federal dollars to help in areas, because within our city, most of the areas where the major flooding is happening are in areas of the city that have long been overlooked. There's a lot of poverty in some of the areas that faces the flooding. Also, the W campus is one that receives heavy flooding. They have received some ARPA money to try to help with this from the state. We were showing them yesterday, but the money that they have received is not enough to do everything they need to prevent that flooding. So that's why it's so important for us to work with other entities like the W and others within the city to try to, and the county, to try to deal with some of these issues that we've been facing, like I said, for many, many years. And this is the one time where there seems to be some money available that we need to try to take advantage of. And so we'll continue to keep the citizens abreast of that as we move forward. Now I'll take any questions.
We only have two radars?
I think we have 5, maybe 4. I don't know how many of them work, but yes. When the new chief arrived, one of the things that I was talking to him about on a regular basis was the speeding issues that we've been facing. I've been getting multiple phone calls about that since I've been in office, and trying to find ways to crack down on that. Well, when he did a search of what was going on, looking into how the police department was trying to handle those issues, he discovered we had 2 in the police department. Since then, I think they discovered maybe 3 or 4 more or 5 more at the Maxim Medical Building, which I'm not sure what condition they're in or even if they're able to use them, but they're trying to get us up to speed where we can not only track speeders through our vehicles, but also with our motorcycles.
How many are we trying to get?
Do we know how many that were ordered? Was it 30? 15 for the vehicles and 3 for the motorcycles. Is that right? Let me see if it's in the... Yeah.
And that money's in CPD's budget?
Yes.
The plant's on 45. So we're going to source that out, and then Public Works is going to do the upkeep of it. Is that correct?
Yes, we are outsourcing the landscaping for 45. However, I think what is very important to point out is that the plants that we are selecting, unlike sometimes in the past, are MDOT approved for being on the highway like that, where the maintenance is limited as far as sustainability of these plants and trees. You have to think of the harsh Mississippi weather that they're subject to, plus accidents and spills on the highway. So we're trying to go at a different format than we've done in the past that will be beautiful and be eye-pleasing on the highway, but also more sustainable from a maintenance standpoint. But yes, Public Works will be in charge of watering them and trying to maintain them. They will be under a year warranty though, since we outsourced them. Now, if we neglected them, they would not be under a warranty, but just just how a plant should be able to sustain for over a year if maintenance properly, it will be under warranty for that. And then what my plan is to hope to do is, once we get this in place, to begin studying the other numerous beds that we have throughout the city, and what is the plan for maintaining those. Do we need to go back and look at the type of plants that we have in there, and are they sustainable in the harsh Mississippi weather that we have, and the limited funds that the city has for beautification?
How much money are we talking?
Well, that's what we'll have to look at long term. I mean, right now, the most we've ever had in the budget for that was $30,000, and as I said before, it was overspent some years up to almost $50,000. We currently have $15,000 in it when we were having the severe budget cuts under my first year here, when we came back and saw that we didn't have enough money for the raises, and we did the budget cut. That budget was cut to 15. Last year, I think we only spent about $8,000 or $6,000 of that 15. So and from what I can find and have asked for, there is no plan in place for beautification and how you maintain those. That's what we need in place, and then we figure out what we can plant and what we should plant and what those costs are. And I'm sure every budget year it'll have to be looked at, because plants and things like that increase in cost.
Has that $15,000 been spent already?
For this year?
Yeah.
No, not all of it. Jim?
6,000.
6,000 of it has been spent for this year.
And where is the money coming from to pay for these plans? Is this coming out of that emergency fund? Okay, that's what I thought. You had said earlier they were driving to Lucedale to buy these plants. Why Lucedale?
That was the place where they could find the biggest discount for plants. They have it's my understanding it's a big nursery down there. I think Kevin Stafford even told us that he used them recently for his own landscaping of his new home, that he did a lot of research personally on plants, and you can get them much cheaper there, but you've got to go get them and try to maintain them. And I think that's where the city has purchased plants before, and I think Casey pointed out, when they go and pick them up, they have to rent a vehicle to do that, plus the gas to go and get it, and then some of the plants didn't survive that they picked up. We don't have horticulturist specialists in the Public Works, and nor will we. I think we have to use some common sense on some of these issues that we're dealing with, and everybody doesn't have a green thumb. Part of the issues that we've had with some of the trees out on the highway were oil spills that did it. Then when you whack up the trunks with a weed eater constantly, you're going to kill them. There is a high overturn in folks that work in Public Works, and we just, it is what it is. And, that's not throwing anybody under the bus or anything, but, people who plant at their own houses, if they don't handle the plants properly, they're going to die. And usually when you're building 78 beds around the city, it seems to me you would have a plan for maintaining those and planting in them. And I am yet again to find one where we had a plan and we're budgeting properly for it.
The fire truck that you guys bought last night, do you happen to know when that's going to be delivered?
Today.
Today?
It's coming down from Tupelo today.
Yep. That is the actual one that I went out over a year ago when they were picking it out to build. I got to go out and see that whole process, and it's very impressive how they do that. And, you know, I want to commend our fire department again, and I include the mayor's office when I say it, is the most exemplary department within the city, in my opinion, and has been for quite some time. They work very hard to find the extra resources to purchase those, and I commend, and I got to see them when I went out with them. I guess it's been over a year now, and they were actually, the fire department, the folks that work at the fire department designed that truck, working closely with the people who build the trucks. And they built it specifically for the needs of the city. And I can't say enough good things about the fire department.
And no taxpayer dollars, or no city money on it to say is going into that, right? It's all grants and rebate money.
You can thank FEMA.
FEMA, yes.
FEMA and
Jim, you want to come up and speak to it a little bit? No, come on up, so he can get you at the mic.
I'm sorry.
No, we have a very competent CFO, and I like for him to come up and
I'm pleased to say that the fire truck will be delivered. Actually, it'll be delivered today. It won't be operational for about 5 days because there's equipment and things that have to be done on it and licensing and stuff. And then,
you just made the front page.
on top of that, so FEMA provided a little over $743,000 on a grant to us for that truck. And then out of our fire insurance rebate grant that we get from the state of Mississippi, our 10%, which is a little over $74,000. So the two added up come up to a little over $800,000 for that truck. But no city taxpayer money is in that one. And we have another truck that's scheduled to be delivered in August, I believe. And we're working on grants for that now.
Dan, what are this truck code? Do we know what fire station it will go in? Fire station 1, 4?
I think it's going to Fire Station 5. I think, but at least that's where it's being delivered and worked on. I'm not sure where its final home is going to be. But,
That'd be a question for Chief Hughes.
yeah.
Do you have anything else on the contract?
No.
Last night there was some talk about the status of Oak Manor and the renovations out there. Could you speak to that a little bit?
Sure.
As far as where we are out there and what the city's expectations are?
Sure. As you can see, you know, and Oak Manor is not the only apartment complex in the city that is not, I would easily say, up to standards. Here's where the city, you know, tries to walk a fine line on this. Like, for instance, the person who purchased Oak Manor and is trying to refurbish it does not live in Columbus, right? And that is a big challenge of what they're trying to accomplish there. I think with any situation like this, communication is key. And I think what you saw last night at the city council meeting was that the communication lines had not remained as open as they should, probably between the new owner and the city on the progress that is being made there. You know, we're always grateful when people are investing in areas like that. Obviously, affordable housing is important in any community, but you know, it's just unfortunate that over the years, some of these apartment complexes have just got into deplorable shape. So what you hope for is to find people who can invest in the housing and have the wherewithal and the means to bring them up to standard, and that's what I think you saw the discussions of last night. The current owner gave a new timeline to the council, a mayor and council, on when they feel like, you know, he will be making significant progress. I think there were 5 units that will be available by the end of next week. There was one in particular unit that has had a lot of rubbish in front of it for quite some time that the council wanted taken care of. And he is addressing that today. I think there was a little misinformation between him and the laws of the city and the state on what he could and could not do. I think that was addressed last night. You know, that's, you know, when you have situations like that, they don't happen overnight, and sometimes it's difficult to improve them overnight. So hopefully that after last night's conversations, that the new owner and the city will be in a good situation to work together to get those apartments up to standards. You know, again, concerns about those before were they looked blighted in a lot of cases. Before he was starting to do work on it, you know, when you have situations like that causes, it brings an uptick in crime and people using those apartments for things they shouldn't be. And so, and that's where the concern has been from the mayor and the council, and especially Mrs. Stewart, which is in her ward, and as she pointed out, she gets calls about it on a daily basis, and she has been very proactive, I know, in driving by and she moves through her ward on a regular basis, checking out what's going on in it. So there's a lot of concern from her standpoint, and rightfully so, but from the entire city. But again, in these kinds of situations, the city is trying to do everything they can to work with people who are interested in investing in the city. You know, we need to try to work together to improve the situations that we're facing. And I think that's what you saw there last night.
Supposed to be 30 units by August 31st.
Yeah, 30 units will be available by August 31st, and we are now at the beginning of May. So he was telling us last night that you'll see a lot of work going on there in the coming days.
And if August 31st rolls around and those 30 units aren't up, what's the next step on the city's?
Well, he will be back before the council and addressing the issue. And hopefully there will be conversation between, you know, as it goes on between now and then, so that there's an update, so that all of a sudden there's not, you know, he's not getting a citation from the city, but that there is good communication between him and, you know, our offices here within the city, so that the council can be made aware of it. Again, I mean, good communication is key, and there's a lot going on, and sometimes, you know, we may not get the information that we need in a timely basis, but I think because this has been such a high-profile thing, that hopefully we'll have adequate information as we move forward to August.
Do you have any idea how many people still live out there?
I have no idea. Did he mention that last night? Yeah. Well, and I think that also that Councilman Jones asked a question last night, the same one that you did, about if, you know, at that time frame, if they haven't been completed, then an update to the council will be needed. Is that not correct?
I believe the council voted that if the 30 aren't done by August 31st, that we have an order of immediate abatement. However, he could come and ask for more time.
Yes, that's it.
I would expect him to probably grant him some more time.
Yeah,
If he's made any progress at all.
yeah.
And what does immediate abatement mean in this sense? Going in and cleaning it up, or demolition, or what?
You can secure the structure by boarding or demo. That's about our only two options.
Mm-hmm. So as you can see, this is not an easy situation that we're in. And we're trying to find, you know, we're trying to find common ground with the owner and the needs of the city as far as getting that property up to code.
Yeah, that's it for me.
Is that good? Joe, any questions from the?
No, sir, that was it.
All right. All right, thank you, everybody.